Being an approval junkie is like being a puppet, with everyone else pulling the strings. You let what others think of you control your actions, your choices, and even your sense of self-worth. A true Stoic never lets their personal identity be shaped by someone else's opinion. An approval junkie is someone who constantly seeks validation, sacrificing their own values just to fit in or avoid conflict. It's not Stoic to live this way. As Epictetus wisely put it, if you are ever tempted to look for outside approval, realize that you have compromised your integrity. When you live for the approval of others, you lose your backbone. You become a person with no spine, easily bent by the whims and expectations of those around you. True Stoicism is about standing firm in your beliefs, knowing that you control your own actions and reactions, not someone else's. When you give away that control, you let others run your life, leaving you hollow and directionless. But here's the good news. This behavior can be fixed. You don't have to stay trapped in the cycle of needing approval. Stoicism gives us the tools to break free from the claws of this imaginary kindness, the kind that doesn't serve you but only damages your personal identity and self-esteem. By learning how to set boundaries and stand firm in your values, you can reclaim your sense of self-worth and stop letting others control your decisions. Imagine the freedom of no longer being swayed by what others think of you. That's real power. Want to know how to get there? Watch the whole video to uncover the 10 Stoic tips that will help you shake off the need for approval once and for all, and start living life on your own terms. This isn't just about saying no. It's about taking back control of your life and embracing the confidence that comes with it. 1. Understand why you say yes. Have you ever found yourself saying yes to something you really didn't want to do? Maybe it's agreeing to help someone when you're already swamped or accepting plans you know you'll regret later. It's almost like a reflex. Before you can even think it through, you're already saying, yeah, sure, I can do that. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself why? Why do you keep saying yes when deep down you really want to say no? Recognizing the root causes of people-pleasing is crucial. It often stems from childhood experiences where we learn to seek validation from others as a survival mechanism. If our caregivers were emotionally unavailable or overly critical, we developed habits to keep them happy, believing that would keep us safe. Stoicism reminds us that we cannot control others' feelings, only our own responses. Every time you say yes to something you don't want, you're effectively saying no to yourself. You're giving away your time, your energy, and your mental peace. The more you do this, the more disconnected you become from your own needs and desires. This leads to overwhelm, stress, and, ultimately, resentment, because you're not living for you, you're living for others. So, it's time to stop and reassess. Ask yourself, why am I really saying yes? Is it because you genuinely want to? Or is it fear of awkwardness, disappointment, or disapproval? Remember, true happiness and fulfillment come from aligning your actions with your values, not from pleasing others. Saying yes to yourself is about reclaiming your power. It's about recognizing that your time and energy are precious, and you get to choose where they go. You don't have to be everything to everyone. By embracing the Stoic practice of focusing on what you can control, your choices, you can start to break free from the cycle of people-pleasing. 2. Stop confusing kindness with pleasing. Let's get one thing straight. Being kind and being a people-pleaser are not the same thing. It's so easy to confuse the two, right? We think that being kind means saying yes all the time, bending over backward just to make others happy. But here's the truth. Real kindness sometimes means saying no. Yeah, you heard me. Saying no can be the kindest thing you do for yourself and others. Why? Because you protect your time, energy, and well-being. That way you can show up when it really matters. Think about it. How many times have you said yes to something you didn't want to do? You might have done it to avoid conflict or keep someone from getting upset, but in the end you feel drained, frustrated, and maybe even a little resentful. You're not being kind to yourself when you're constantly pleasing others. And when you're running on empty, how can you really be there for the people who matter most? Stoicism isn't about making everyone happy. It's about doing what's right. It's about living by your values, not twisting yourself into knots just to please others. Sometimes that means saying no when you know it's the best choice. Real kindness? It's doing something out of genuine care, not because you're hoping for approval or validation. It's not about keeping everyone pleased. It's about staying true to who you are. Here's a question for you. When you say yes to something, are you doing it because you genuinely want to? Or is it out of fear of letting someone down? Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, our actions, our choices. You can't control how others feel about you, but you can control how you act. Imagine this. Next time someone asks something of you, pause and think, am I doing this because it's right? Or because I'm scared of saying no? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever said yes just to avoid disappointing someone? Drop a comment below and let me know how you're working on setting boundaries. 3. Build self-respect. Many times we give up our self-respect just to make others happy. We do things we don't want to, say things we don't mean, all to avoid upsetting someone. But in the end, we are the ones who suffer. When you keep chasing others' approval, you lose sight of what really matters, how you see yourself. Instead of always worrying about what others think, it's important to build a strong sense of self-worth from within. Stoicism teaches us to rely on our own self-respect, not the validation of others. One key Stoic idea is self-discipline. It's about controlling what's within your power, your thoughts, actions, and choices. When you build inner confidence, you become stronger and more resilient. You stop letting others' opinions control your life. Chasing the approval of others can make you feel insecure and unsure. You start doubting yourself because your worth is tied to how others react. But when you practice self-discipline, you focus on what you believe in and what fits your values. That's where real strength comes from. The Stoics remind us that life isn't about making everyone happy, but about doing what's right. Think of it this way. If you're always trying to please others, you're like a boat tossed around by every wave. But when you build self-respect, you become like a rock, strong and steady, no matter what others think or say. As Marcus Aurelius said, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. Instead of seeking others' approval, focus on building your own. This will give you the peace and confidence that no one can take away." 4. Your happiness isn't in others' hands. Trying to make everyone happy is a trap, and it's one we all fall into sometimes. It feels like the right thing to do, keeping everyone satisfied, avoiding conflict, making sure no one's upset. But what happens to you in the process? When you focus on pleasing others, you start to put your own happiness at risk. Stoicism reminds us of a hard truth. Happiness isn't something you can find in someone else's approval. It's something you have to find within yourself. The more you rely on others to feel good, the more you give up control over your emotions, your peace, and your life. Every time you wait for someone's validation, you're giving them the power to decide how you feel. That's not where real strength lies. Stoic wisdom tells us that happiness comes from within, by focusing on what you can control, your thoughts, your actions, your attitudes, not what others think of you. Marcus Aurelius nailed it when he said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Your joy is an inside job, and when you base it on how others react, it's like handing them the keys to your emotions. Why give them that power? Now let's talk about how this affects your goals. Constantly trying to please others, you end up sacrificing your own dreams, your values, and even your sense of who you are. Stoicism says to focus on internal goals, the stuff that lines up with your beliefs, your character, the things that truly matter to you. When you set goals based on your own values, you'll feel a deeper sense of fulfillment because your success won't depend on others clapping for you. For example, instead of chasing the impossible goal of making everyone like you, how about this? Aim to be honest, to stay true to yourself, and to live in line with your own principles. At the end of the day, being proud of your actions, knowing you've done what's right, will always be more satisfying than chasing after approval that comes and goes. What do you think? Would you rather live to please others, or focus on living a life you can be proud of? Drop a comment below and let's hear your thoughts. Another key Stoic tip is to practice ataraxia, or calmness of mind. This means not letting others' opinions sway you or affect your peace. External praise or criticism shouldn't change how you feel about yourself. True peace comes from knowing your worth and not depending on others for validation. Now let's flip the script. We are sometimes in a position where we need to put our happiness second. For example, when we need to care for our loved ones, like our older parents. In situations like this, we rely on the Stoic virtue of duty. Stoicism teaches that caring for others, especially those who depend on us, is part of our responsibility. But even here, we shouldn't forget ourselves completely. The Stoics remind us to balance our duties to others with our own inner peace. While it's important to help and support the people we love, we shouldn't sacrifice our happiness to the point where we're left drained and unhappy. The Stoic way is about doing what's right without losing ourselves. Seneca, another famous Stoic, said, "He who does good to others does good to himself." This means that caring for others can bring us happiness, but we must find joy in doing our duty, not just from their approval or gratitude. Now, how do we manage this balance? The Stoics would suggest that we focus on what we can control. We can't always control how much others appreciate or notice our efforts, but we can control how we approach these duties. If we act with kindness, patience, and love, that's within our power. The result, whether others are happy or not, isn't up to us. This helps us avoid frustration when our good deeds aren't recognized, and we stay grounded in the things we can actually control. At the same time, Stoicism teaches that we shouldn't make our happiness depend on how others feel about us. Sure, it's great when people are pleased with what we do, but if they aren't, that's okay too. What matters most is that we act according to our own values and do the right thing. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic philosopher, often reminded himself to do good without expecting anything in return. He said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That's why Stoics focus on internal goals. If your goal is to be kind and helpful, you can feel proud of yourself whether or not others notice. Your happiness isn't tied to their approval. This makes you stronger because you no longer depend on outside praise. You know you're doing the right thing, and that's enough. So even in times when we have to put others first, we can still find happiness within ourselves by practicing the Stoic virtues of duty, patience, and self-discipline. We care for our loved ones because it's the right thing to do, not because we need their validation. Our happiness comes from knowing we've done our best, not from seeking approval or praise from others. That's how Stoicism helps us stay balanced and strong, even when life asks us to put others' needs ahead of our own. 5. Boundaries are key. Let's talk about something super important: boundaries. You know, those invisible lines we draw to protect our time, energy, and mental health. Without them, we end up feeling drained, stressed, and like we're just giving until there's nothing left. Does that sound familiar? The Stoics teach us that the key to a balanced life is knowing what we can control. Boundaries help us do that. They give us control over our own actions and reactions, instead of feeling like we're being pulled in a million directions by everyone else. Picture this. You've had a crazy long day, you're exhausted, and then ding, your phone rings. It's a friend wanting to chat. You want to be there for them, but you're wiped out. This is where boundaries come in. You can say, "I'd love to talk, but I can only chat until 8 p.m. because I need sleep." See what happened there? You're still supporting your friend, but you're also making sure you get what you need: rest. Or maybe you're working from home and it feels like your work never ends. You're always on. Not good, right? Set a boundary. I'm only checking work emails from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Boom. Now you've got time to focus on work and still have time to chill when you're done. Think about it. Without boundaries, we end up overworked, overwhelmed, and honestly, kind of resentful. It's like you're doing too much, but for what? Just to keep everyone else happy while you burn out? That's not kindness. It's self-sacrifice. But when you set boundaries, you're telling people, "Hey, I matter too. My time and energy are important." Stoics believe we can't control how others act, but we can control how we respond. Boundaries help us stay in control. So if someone's not respecting your time, you can say, I can help for 30 minutes, but after that I need to focus on my own stuff. You're making your limits clear, and you're in control. How empowering is that? I know some people might think setting boundaries is selfish, but guess what? It's not. In fact, Stoics would argue that taking care of yourself is one of the best things you can do for others. It's like filling your own cup first. You've got more to give when you're not running on empty. Let's say your friend always wants to hang out, but you have other things to do. You could say, I can hang out for an hour, but after that, I need to take care of some things. You're being a good friend and still honoring your responsibilities. Win-win. So, how do you start? First, figure out what's important to you. What do you value? What drains your energy? Once you know that, you can set boundaries that protect your mental and physical health. For example, if you need quiet time to relax, let your family know. I need 30 minutes of alone time to recharge. Next, be clear when you communicate. Let people know what you need, but do it in a kind, firm way. You could say, I'm happy to help with this, but I can only spend an hour on it because I've got other tasks to finish. The clearer you are, the easier it is for others to respect your limits. And most importantly, enforce your boundaries. If someone crosses the line, don't be afraid to remind them. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but trust me, it gets easier. The Stoics remind us to stand firm in our values, and that includes protecting your energy. In the end, boundaries are about wisdom and self-control, core Stoic virtues. You're taking charge of what you can control, your time, your energy, and your reactions. And when you do that, you're on the path to a healthier, happier, and more peaceful life. 6. People will respect you more when you say no. Have you ever noticed how hard it is to say no to someone you admire or who has influence over you? Maybe it's a boss, a close friend, or a family member. It's natural to want their approval, but here's a surprising truth. Saying no can actually earn you more respect. When you set clear boundaries and say no, you're not just protecting your time, you're also showing self-respect. Ironically, the more you stand firm in your decisions, the more others will appreciate you. Stoicism teaches us to live according to our values, not to the expectations of others. By saying no, you're communicating what truly matters to you. It's about being authentic. Imagine a situation where you feel overwhelmed with requests. Each yes pulls you further away from your goals and passions. By saying no, you're not just freeing up time, you're also demonstrating your ability to prioritize what's important. This clarity is often respected more than any half-hearted agreement. When someone constantly says yes to everything, what do you start to think about them? You might see them as disorganized or lacking in assertiveness. But when someone stands their ground, it shows they value their own time and commitments. They become someone others look up to. Take a moment to reflect on how you feel when someone is late or cancels at the last minute. It's frustrating, right? You wonder if they respect your time. When you say no up front, you avoid those situations. You communicate respect, not just for yourself, but for others too. Saying no doesn't have to be harsh or rude. It's a skill that you can develop. Start by asking for time to think before responding to requests. This shows you care and are considering the request seriously. You might say, "Thank you for thinking of me. Let me check my schedule and I'll get back to you." This approach allows you to evaluate whether the commitment aligns with your values and goals. You can also acknowledge the value of the request while declining. For instance, you could say, "I see this as a great opportunity, but I have to decline at this time." This way, you maintain a positive tone while standing firm. When you decline, it's helpful to leave the door open for future interactions. You might say, "I can't join this project right now, but I'd love to collaborate on something else in the future." This keeps relationships intact while prioritizing your own commitments. And remember, it's perfectly okay to suggest someone else who might be a better fit for the task. This not only shows respect for the person asking, but also demonstrates your willingness to help, even if you can't take it on yourself. Next time you feel pressured to say yes, pause and ask yourself, what do I value most? By saying no when it matters, You not only protect your own time, but also foster a deeper respect from others. After all, the Stoics teach us that true strength lies in knowing ourselves and standing firm in our beliefs. So go ahead, embrace the power of no, and watch the respect you earn grow. 7. Stop chasing praise. Chasing praise from others weakens your character over time. When you care too much about what other people think, you stop focusing on what's really important, your own growth. According to Stoicism, praise is something we should never value highly because it's outside of our control. It's like trying to catch the wind. You might get some recognition, but it won't last, and it definitely won't bring lasting fulfillment. The Stoics teach that we should focus on what we can control, our actions, our effort, and our attitude. If you are constantly looking for validation from others, you are giving away your power. You're letting them decide your worth instead of owning it yourself. Instead of chasing praise, try improving yourself for your own sake. Get better because you want to be better, not because you're waiting for someone to clap for you. In the end, praise is empty if it's all you're chasing. Focus on doing what's right, growing your skills, and living by your values. The true reward isn't in the applause of others, but in the satisfaction of knowing you've done your best. 8. Challenge your fear of rejection. Many people fear saying no because they worry about being rejected. It's natural to want to fit in and avoid feeling like you don't belong. But constantly saying yes out of fear weakens you. Stoicism teaches that rejection is not something we can control, so it shouldn't define who we are. Rejection happens to everyone at some point. Whether it's in relationships, work, or friendships, hearing no can sting. But the Stoics remind us that we can't control how others respond to us. What we can control is how we respond to rejection. Instead of fearing it, we can see it as a chance to grow. Every rejection is an opportunity to become stronger, wiser, and more resilient. By embracing rejection, we learn that it doesn't affect our worth. Your value comes from within, not from how others see you. If you constantly live in fear of being turned down, you're giving too much power to outside opinions. The Stoic way is to focus on your own actions, your own progress, and to stop worrying about things that are out of your control. Let rejection slide off you, and keep moving forward, always aiming to improve for your sake, not for anyone else's approval. Fear of rejection often stems from a fear of being judged by others. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control how others perceive us, but we can control how we respond to it. Avoiding social situations or seeking constant approval limits our growth. Instead, embrace discomfort as a chance to strengthen your resilience. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Marcus Aurelius. Focus on what you can control, your actions and your thoughts. Let go of the need for approval from others and approach social situations with confidence, knowing that rejection is not a reflection of your worth. When we're ruled by the fear of rejection, we either cling too tightly to others or push them away before they can get close. Both behaviors are rooted in insecurity. Stoicism reminds us that rejection is a natural part of life. What matters is how we view it. Accepting rejection as part of your journey will free you from seeking constant validation or avoiding connection. Man is disturbed not by things, but by the views he takes of them. Epictetus. Don't waste energy trying to avoid rejection or cling to approval. Instead, understand that rejection doesn't change your value. Move forward confidently, knowing that what's within your control is your own self-worth. Much of our fear of rejection comes from negative self-talk, which often exaggerates our fears. Stoicism teaches that we must tame our inner critic and replace it with logic and reason. When you quiet the inner voice that tells you you're not enough, you make room for growth, connection, and peace of mind. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Seneca. Recognize when your inner critic is holding you back. Challenge those thoughts with reason and remind yourself of your worth. Turn that critic into your internal supporter and face rejection as a learning opportunity, not a failure. 9. Don't mistake conflict for failure. Many people fear conflict, believing it means they've failed. But that's not true. Stoicism teaches that conflict is simply part of life. It's not something to run away from or avoid. Instead, it's an opportunity to grow, learn, and improve your communication skills. When conflict happens, it doesn't mean you've done something wrong. It just means there's a disagreement, and that's normal. The key is to face the issue with an open mind. Instead of trying to win or avoid the problem, try to understand the other person's point of view. This will help you grow, just like a Stoic would. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. Epictetus. People often avoid conflict because they want to be liked or keep the peace. But avoiding conflict doesn't solve the problem. It just pushes it off until later. When you run from conflict, you miss a chance to learn from the situation. Facing disagreements calmly, without taking things personally, helps build stronger relationships. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Epictetus. Stoicism teaches us that conflict is a part of life, and avoiding it only leads to more problems in the long run. When disagreements happen, it's not a sign of failure, but a chance to build better understanding. Many people think that when there's a conflict, one person is right and the other is wrong. But it's not always about being right. It's about finding common ground. When you embrace conflict with a calm, clear mindset, you create an opportunity for growth on both sides. It's easy to think that avoiding conflict will keep the peace, but that's not usually the case. By running away, you miss the chance to address issues that need solving. In fact, many conflicts happen not because people are wrong, but because they didn't communicate clearly. That's why Stoicism emphasizes clear and honest communication. By being open about your thoughts and listening to others, you can prevent many misunderstandings before they even happen. Conflicts don't need to be seen as battles where someone wins and someone loses. Instead, they can be viewed as a way to strengthen relationships. When both sides are willing to listen and compromise, they show respect for each other. And even if you can't fully agree, understanding the other person's point of view makes the situation less stressful. Stoicism teaches us to focus on how we handle conflict, not the conflict itself. When we do this, we can face challenges with grace and grow from them. 10. Take small steps towards saying no. If you're struggling with saying no, start small. Don't feel like you have to dive into the deep end right away. Instead, begin with minor requests, like declining an invite to something you don't enjoy, or saying no to a favor that feels unnecessary. This way you can build up your confidence bit by bit. Every time you say no, you strengthen your sense of self and remind yourself that your time and energy are valuable. It's not about rejecting others. It's about prioritizing what matters to you. Saying no to small things will prepare you for bigger challenges down the road. Think of it like a workout. Just as you build muscle by gradually lifting heavier weights, you'll get stronger at setting boundaries the more you practice. Maybe at first you feel uncomfortable or even guilty, but over time, you'll realize that saying no is a form of self-respect. You're choosing what aligns with your goals, not just what pleases others. This journey isn't about becoming a no machine. It's about being more intentional with your yes. When you're selective about where you invest your time, you become more in control of your life. And that's a core principle of Stoicism: controlling what you can and accepting what you can't. By taking these small steps, you're building the inner strength to handle bigger decisions without fear or hesitation. If you're ready to take your Stoic journey even further, make sure to watch our video 10 Stoic Principles so that nothing can affect you. It ties perfectly into what we've covered here, and will show you how to build unshakable inner peace no matter what life throws at you. Don't miss it. Click here and keep growing your Stoic mindset.